Welcome back to Notre Dame Day. I'm Pete Byrne, I'm one of your anchors this hour, and thanks you for tuning in. I'm joined here now with Jim Lyphout, Notre Dame's former Vice President in charge of Business Operations. Jim, thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure, thank you.
Now, during your time as Vice President of Business Ops, I know one thing you were responsible for was Notre Dame's properties, and one thing I'd like to talk to you about now is a property called Land O'Lakes. First, can you tell us where that's located and what Notre Dame does with that?
Okay. Land O'Lakes is a pristine piece of property in the North Woods. It's about 8,000 acres, about 1,000 along the Wisconsin northern border, and about 7,000 acres in the Michigan Peninsula. It contains 30 lakes and bogs. 26 are totally within the university's property. It has dormitories, it has research labs, it has obviously all the equipment needed to maintain a property that size. It's just hard to describe it.
What would you say Notre Dame does? How do they utilize that property best?
There are three primary uses of the property. The first and most important is research. The university does, and not just Notre Dame, other universities as well, use the property for aquatic research. Again, because these lakes are solely contained within our property, we can control the variables, many of the variables that affect the lakes, the fish, the vegetation, which just make it ideal research areas. And it's just been designated by National Science Foundation as a NEON site. NEON is an acronym for National Ecological Observatory Network. And they are erecting towers and other equipment that will measure changes in the ecology and the environment. There'll be a couple dozen of these sites across the country. So it was a very prestigious award for the university to have that there. And the second use is education. Students come up there in the summer, teach a full-time 10-week course, so they have instruction, they have field research, they get to go out into the lakes and the bogs and do real research. And then they write, and they also have experiments that they do. So it's a very important educational opportunity for our students. As I said, we have dormitories that house up to 60 people on the property, along with cabins that provide accommodations for other visitors. We also use the property as sort of a retreat center. The religious community goes up there in the summer to kind of renew themselves, spend a week or two just relaxing, enjoying the fishing, enjoying the beautiful environment. University officials use it occasionally for strategic planning sessions because you're away from everything. It's hard to reach you when you're up there because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds like it's beautiful up there from what you described.
It's just hard to describe.
How did the university obtain this property to begin with?
The university obtained the property as a gift from a gentleman whose name was Martin Gillen. Martin Gillen was a University of Wisconsin graduate, 1898, a lawyer, practiced law in Racine, Wisconsin, eventually went to New York, practiced law, was an industrialist that the government relied on quite a bit during World War I to help with logistics, getting wartime materials where they needed to be. He eventually came back to the North Woods, to his roots, and built a lot of what is now the Land O'Lakes property, and in the late 30s decided that he wanted to give it to the university. He never married. He became friends with a couple of the past presidents of the university and gave it to the university around 1941. He asked that he could stay on the property and manage it until he died, which was only a year later. So the university's had the property since the early 40s.
Awesome. Now, I've heard a lot about this property in relation to Father Ted Hesburgh. Can you share a story about him and why this place was so special to him?
Well, Father Ted, for most of his presidency, each year at the end of the school year, when everything was wrapped up, would go up there for a few weeks himself to kind of relax and enjoy the North Woods. And he just did it for almost every year he was president. And I had the pleasure of being up there quite a few times with him. And we fished together a number of times. But the prize fish up there is called a muskie. And I had never caught a keeper, so to speak. They have to be at least 40 inches long. And I wanted a keeper to mount on the wall in my man cave. And I'd never caught one big enough. And one night I was having dinner with Father Ted, and I was lamenting the fact that I'd never caught a keeper. And Father Ted said to our caretaker, he said, "Get the stuff together, everyone fishing after dinner." And I hate being on the lake after dinner. The mosquitoes was terrible. But when Father asked you to go fishing, you went fishing. And we went out. We were out a couple hours and didn't have much luck. And so he said, well, let's just do one more loop around the lake and we'll call it a day. So we started going around the lake one more time, and Father said, I think I'll have one more cigar before I go in. So he says, hold my pole, Jim. And I take his pole. I said, Father, there's a fish on it. No. I reeled in 41-inch muskie. I got my keeper, and Father always said that I caught it. I didn't really caught it. He caught it. I reeled it in. It was a great fight. It took about 20 minutes for us to get it in. And he always said that was the fish that I caught. And I think that's significant because it's just kind of signify. Oh, yeah.
That's a great fish.
Come on. Yeah, it is. And that's the last cigar he lit when we were coming back from the lake. And but I think it's significant because it kind of demonstrates the kind of person Father was. He tried to make everyone around him feel successful. Mm-hmm. And if you feel successful, you'll be successful. And if you feel successful, you support the people that made you successful. And I think that's part of the greatness of Father Ted. He made everyone feel great about themselves.
That's a great story, Jim. I'm surprised the cigar smoke didn't help keep the mosquitoes away. Nonetheless, appreciate talking to you on Notre Dame Day.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. We're going to keep things going now by